everyone, Linda Heldman here for Canadian Beats. I am with Kevin Bushey, who is TM extraordinaire for, well, for the Canadian music industry. I'm going to say that because you cover a lot of ground. Welcome, Kevin.
Thanks, Linda. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
Good to see you.
We're going to talk to you today a bit about being a tour manager. But before we do, I got to go back, tell the story of how I first met you back in the day.
Well, I think you just reminded me, actually.
Yes. Now, I can't remember what year it was, but the NonCountry 95.3, that was the biggest, most popular radio station in Hamilton, before the days of KX 94. They used to have their Canada Day Jam, and they would have a contest for local artists to vie for a spot on the Canada Day Jam stage. And Bareback Riders won. What year was that? Do you remember?
No.
No idea?
You're not going to get the memory that you get with the Brett Kissel when you interview, like with me. Like, I'm a lot older, so I've forgotten more than he probably knows. But it probably would have been 95. I'm thinking.
Oh,
95,
no,
98,
earlier
2005.
than that.
Really?
2005 could be
2005,
it. 2005 could be
okay.
it because I became country girl around 2003.
Okay, so then 2005, 2004 probably.
And then from there, I remember seeing Bareback Riders a couple of times. You opened in Fergus for Aaron Pritchett at the Fergus High School.
Correct, yeah.
I also met Ryan
Aaron
Laird.
Aaron Lyons was on that one, or the one year after, anyway.
Year after,
right,
yeah. So, how do you go from being a musician, guitar player, you're a really good guitar player as well.
Well, I wouldn't know if I'd say that, but okay.
To becoming a tour manager.
How do you go from that? Well, for me, it's an easy transition because I've been around music for over 20 years. So it just became something that I got into long before I met you with the Bareback Rider days. And playing in a band yourself, having to handle all your own bookings and because you're your own agent, you're your own manager, your own tour manager, you're your own accountant. You're everything when you have a band, just like the Bareback Riders, or in my case with Blind River too, after that. So you just become, it's just something that you do, because if you don't do it, then nobody else is going to do it for you. So as an independent act, you just kind of learn how to do it, and from there you just gain your experience. But I learned many years prior to that when I first got into the tour management element of the business, and I've been pretty fortunate to be able to do a lot of different elements of the business, such as, I've been a booking agent, worked in a nightclub and booked all the national acts in my club way back in the late 80s, early 90s in Hamilton and stuff. So it just becomes one of those roles that you dabble in, and then when you like it, then you just kind of expand on it, and then hopefully it turns into a full-blown career, which fortunately for me it has.
The first band I ever remember you being a tour manager for was Dog Walker.
Yeah, that's 10 years. 10 years. Yeah, they were 10 great years too. And it's funny because we've toured across Canada a lot with Doc Walker over the years, and I'm still great friends with the guys to this day. It's just, and unfortunately for me, it's, when they stop playing a little bit less, then I have to work more, so you kind of got to move on to other artists. But still stay in touch with Dave and Chris and the guys. And, when we were in Winnipeg not too long ago, Dave and a bunch of the guys came out to the show, to Brett's show. So yeah, I still stay in contact with them, and I stay in contact with pretty much almost every artist that I've ever toured with, actually, which is pretty cool. Yeah.
You did Emerson Drive for a tour or two, right?
A couple tours with those guys, a bunch of US stuff with them, and
I'm trying to remember all the ones. I seem to recall you did some stuff with Roadhammers.
A little bit of stuff with the Roadhammers, Jason, and it's funny because Jason had always called me, and every time he called me for dates, I was either out with Doc or I was out with Brett, but there really hasn't been too many shows or tours really that you don't really, or I haven't really touched any one of the artists as far as being able to work with them. So it's such a small community up here in Canadian country that we've all worked with one another at some point in time. So that's the one thing that I love about the Canadian country music industry, that it is a full-blown family, and it's everybody.
Exactly.
Which makes it really great.
That's what makes the CCMA so much
Absolutely. It's like old home week.
So what does it actually mean to be a tour manager?
Well, there's a lot of responsibility because if you take into consideration a tour like Brett's, we've got 2 buses and we've got 17, 18 of us out on the road. There's a lot of logistics. There's a lot of responsibility, and I mean, if you're not well organized and you drop the ball on one little thing, it's a domino effect all the way down your tour, and it can create a lot of havoc if you don't have everything together when it's supposed to be together. So just a lot of planning and a lot of pre-planning and a lot of checking and double checking and triple checking things, and I'm pretty structured that way where I advance once, twice, and 3 times just to make sure and keep a lot of notes, and because I just don't want to be that guy that drops the ball that could send the tour in a tailspin, because it's my job to make sure that this tour runs smooth and efficiently for Brett, and at the end of the day make him some money at the end of the tour. So that's, you're wearing several roles as a TM out here. You're not just the guy that takes the pictures at the meet and greet,
That's true. That's true. Which you're very good at, by the way.
It's part of the game.
So you're booking hotels, you're booking airfare, you're booking, just making sure the logistics of everything, even being the liaison between the venue and the band, and making sure that
set all the schedules, our loading times, sound check times, media, setting all those schedules in place. And honestly, I'm just one little element of what happens out here, but I mean, it's truly a team of people that, from Jim Cressman, our agent, that books the dates, and then I get all the stuff, then Louis that kind of steers Brett's career, and then, we've got Adam Warner, that's our publicist, and our marketing team, David Langley. Like, it's not just, I'm just the one guy that keeps the live stuff on the road.
Right.
But man, there's a whole community of people behind us, and a whole team of people that really, really make the whole Brett Kissel camp run efficiently. So it really is.
And when you're not being TM for Brett, you're on the road with the Tenors.
Yeah, I bounce, and it's and Brett's one of my main acts, obviously, and Brett's got a very busy schedule. But just like any other, hired gun or side guy, we continuously have to work. So yeah, I mean, I'm fortunate that when Brett's off the road, I can go work with other acts and other artists. Get to see, tour a lot in the U.S. and I tour the world with the Tenors as well, and so I get to see parts of, I get to go like places like Germany and England and South Africa, and get to, do a really cool bunch of dates like that, and places that I would never probably get to if I wasn't working, kind of thing. So that's kind of the upside of being able to, do what I do, and I'm very fortunate and thankful for it.
So between being a tour manager for a country act and being a tour manager for a non-country act like the Tenors, other than geography, what are some of the other differences?
There's really not a lot of differences, really. It's all logistics based. So I mean, everything it's the same, configuration as far as my job goes, like advancing, load-in times, sound check times, media, scheduling, all that's the same. It doesn't really matter what genre it is. You're still doing the same amount of duties that you would do. The only difference between, let's say, a Brett Kissel and a Tenors, for example, is, there's 3 guys in the Tenors where I've got 1 Brett. So, and I always make the comparison of 3 artists versus 1. Doesn't make it any more work, doesn't make it any less work. So there's just different variables that you deal with every day, but it's basically, it's the same job day in and day out.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. Any special education you need to do this?
No. School of Hard Knocks, really. Made a lot of mistakes along the way coming up, when you're young, and it's just like anything else. I mean, you get better at your job. The more mistakes you make, you learn from your mistakes. And if you don't learn from your mistakes, then you got a problem. But if you're the person that kind of, and I sit back and I assess everything, and if something kind of goes wrong or sideways, or I miss something, I reassess it and I go, okay, what did I do there? What can I do different to correct it? So I'm constantly self-improving when it comes to that. And, I hate missing anything because I'm a very stickler for details. And if I miss something, then I take it pretty hard. So I try not to miss anything. So. Well,
you're very thorough. Anytime that I've had any dealings with you, you've been awesome, and you're a really nice guy. Maybe I shouldn't spread that around, but you are a really nice guy.
There's no time for negativity in our world. We got enough negativity going on in the business. We got enough assholes out there. You probably have to bleep that out. You know what? I learned a long time ago that you treat people in this business how you want to be treated, and when we've had the ability to open for people like Garth Brooks or Brad Paisley, his guys. They went over and above for us every single show that we've ever played with them, and they make it a mandate with their crew to you treat openers like they're headliners, because someday we could be opening for them, and for me, there's enough assholes, like I said, in this industry. We don't need any more. So our whole team is full of really great guys, And we just don't have any time for that. So we maintain that right across the board. So
You know what? I hadn't even thought, what's it like being an opener? Because I think of you being a headline tour manager, but there are those moments, as you said, with Garth, with Brad, and it must add a little bit of a dynamic.
It does, because you never know what to expect, especially like with Garth, because Garth is, coming into the very first date that we did with him. We were told, like, no, don't ask him for any pictures or autographs or any of that kind of stuff, and so you kind of you're intimidated because, number one, well, it's Garth, and you don't know what he's going to be like, right? And then, the very first date that we did with him in Hamilton a couple of years ago, him and Trisha came into our dressing room and sat for 45 minutes and just talked family and just like talked to you, just like you and I are. And him and I are having a conversation like this. It wasn't just focused on Brett. It was focused on everybody in the room, you know what I mean? And that's like, and Brad Paisley was the same way. Like, Brad was just, they're really great down-to-earth people, and there's people out there that aren't. Let's face it, we've all heard horror stories, but for our experience that we've had, with especially the caliber of a Garth Brooks and a Brad Paisley, like, you can't say enough great things about them and their crew, and they've got such a really stable of great crew people, and their band, they're just welcoming, they're very family driven and oriented, much like Brett is, and it's great when you meet these superstars and they're as great as you really hope they are. It's kind of like meeting your idol. Like, if you met your idol and he was not a nice person or she wasn't a nice person, you'd be like, ugh, and then they'd probably no longer be your idol.
True.
But when you're meeting these people and they go over and above and beyond, you're kind of like, wow, now that's what it's all about. So
and it makes you and the team you're working with strive to be that much better.
Absolutely. And we try to portray that, like, when we're coming on, we're not even near at the level or caliber by any means, but when we are playing these little headlining shows and we're able to, like today we're doing a Kick It with Kissel contest, and Brett loves bringing up new talent and getting them some exposure. I mean, we treat them the same way. So for us, it's important because it's important to Brett, and Brett translates that throughout his team, and we want to make sure that we trickle that all the way down the wire.
Great. I love the Invictus team.
Amazing.
Everybody is just fantastic.
Yep.
Just very professional.
Best in the business, and they get it. They know what's going on, and they're so easy to work with. They let me do my job, and it just makes life so much easier, and they're great at it. And we don't. If there's any issues that ever come up, we just figure it all out and we rectify it. We move on. There's no animosity. There's what happened. There's none of that. It's okay. How do we improve it? And then we move on, and we improve every single tour. So.
Awesome. And it's your road family.
It is absolutely 100% road family. Absolutely. I can't even stress that enough.
And speaking of family, you recently got engaged.
I did, yes. Yeah. I still can't believe Heather said yes, but she did. So yeah, I had her out. She was out with us for the past week. She just went home on Wednesday, and so she got to ride the tour bus with us.
Oh, wonderful!
And it's great because it's one of the things that Brett really is adamant about making sure that the families come out, because we're gone for 3 months. We don't get a lot of home time during that 3-month period, if any. So Brett and Cece always encourage us to bring the wives and girlfriends out, and we're very lucky that we're able to do that, because it can be hard on the home life when you're not able to be home for 3 months. So the mere fact that even you bring them out for a week or a couple of days, it certainly breaks it up and adds a little bit of mental stability to the tour a little bit, because you've got your significant other there, which is great. So
great.
Yeah.
Great. Well, congratulations to you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And I know you've got stuff to do with Brett, so I'll let you get back to it. But thank you so very much for taking
Linda,
time out to talk with me about this. We've been speaking with Kevin Bushey, who is tour manager for Brett Kissel, the Tenors, and many, many more. And I'm Linda Heldman for Canadian Beat.